So this is more not a report back on research that is being done, but this is more a plea for action and what I hope is recruiting some of you. So I stand here today and I'm representing the Cape Floristic Region Partnership. And essentially what has been a recognized gap in this partnership is the need for bridging the gap between research and practitioners, and largely what we are hugely here for today. So important to understand a little bit of a background of the Cape Floristic Region Partnership and where it came from. So what we're really wanting to achieve and the role of the Cape Floristic Region Partnership, the CFRP, is to look at support, collaboration, advocacy, learning, communication among a diverse partnership. So bridging gaps between different sectors, different organizations, different businesses, really try and stretch ourselves to better conserve the beautiful area, the Cape Floristic region where we find ourselves. So this was fundamentally brought out of what was known as the Cape Action for People and the Environment, which started back in 2000 and lasted till 2020. Then there was a legacy project, and we started in 2023 trying to pick this up again and create that coordination that existed. Our role being the coordinators are funded through Table Mountain Fund. Myself and Giselle Morrison from BirdLife South Africa. It is only 4 days a month that funds our time to try and coordinate this partnership, and we're realizing there's a huge amount of work that really snowballs, but it's exciting work. There is volunteers who form part of our committee, and to note that we do have our AGM happening on the 21st of November. We do want to host it on the garden route, and if you are wanting to be a member of the CFRP, there is an MOU, and please get in touch. It would be wonderful to make the link. So essentially the vision for this, as I've been saying, it's collaboration. It's to form that resilient Cape Floristic region with its unique biodiversity to conserve and delivering the benefits for everyone. So championing the protection, sustainable use, and effective management of the natural heritage of the Cape Floristic region through informed, connected, and diverse partnerships. So we know there's a need. We know there's a need in terms of better management to bridge the gap with research. And we're so fortunate to have exceptional work that's already been done within the Cape Floristic region in the form of the Berg Breeder community of practice, and really looking to build capacity and partnership to support long-term transdisciplinary research for resilient and equitable landscapes. Now, we were super fortunate to be approached by this project that was coming to an end, and they needed a platform to embed the work that they had done to carry it on into the long term. So some of the findings that they discovered was really recognizing that universities are embedded in the landscape, and there is a need to contribute to the knowledge and the transformation of what we've heard of today, that transformation of the landscape and that long-term research and learning and evolving of where we're going. But it's not so easy. There are complexities, the contexts, there's recycling of ideas, there's knowledge repeating itself, there's inadequately prepared. We often don't know what we're getting into because we don't understand the platforms we might be entering in. There are new relationships that have been formed. And there's also the stakeholder appetite as well as fatigue. I think we are so well aware of in terms of the practitioners and the researchers. So an aspect, what they had identified and how we can potentially overcome this is how to become more coordinated, collaborative, and transformative in the way of working between ourselves and between researchers and practitioners, and basically work together towards a greater resilience amongst our community. And I really want to plea, and I think this is where this Cape Floristic Region partnership can really come and hold a space for this particular working group. So this project undertook a huge amount of engagements with different practitioners, from researcher workshops through to non-academics and practitioner workshops, through to educators workshops, engaging a huge amount of people and enabling report backs. And then a finding, and where do they then sit this knowledge that they've now found, and we know so many of research comes through, where do we now sit this knowledge? And this is where we're very fortunate to have the discussion with this project team and embed, hopefully, be a holding space for some of the findings for this project. So just some of the findings, and I don't have a lot of time to go through many of these, and you can scan the QR code to find out more information. But we're very familiar with many of these challenges for practitioners, as well as many of the challenges for researchers. And through the project, they also developed a bit of a roadmap of how do we better enable practitioners and researchers to better collaborate among themselves. And it really embeds a fantastic framework and groundwork on which we can now create a third space and a holding space for practitioners and researchers to really come together. So, on the 13th of June this last year, some of you were involved in this and hopefully had the invitation and know as well that the door is never closed. And if you're hearing about the bus now, the door is still open and you're welcome to jump on. But we hosted a very first working group looking at bringing research into conservation practice across the Cape Floristic region. And this was just to get partners on board and who's in the room and is this something of interest to work with. So a little bit of timeline. We had the conversation with the Berg and Breeda community of practice. We then had this 13th of June little workshop, widely represented from government through to academics, through to practitioners on the ground. This then led to the SARA Knowledge Exchange, a little bit of a snowball effect. When the ball starts rolling, you've got to sit tight. And that was again a wonderful introduction to partners and academics in the field. Then the Fynbos Forum. Now we're sitting here, and I would love to invite you all on the 10th of October, happening this month. We do have the very first working group looking at research and practitioner, the gap that exists between the two. And this is really, how do we bridge this and how do we bring our two sectors closer and continuously bring the thread through? So what we know we need to look at is we need to be better at measuring, reflecting, and adapting. We need to make science-based decisions, which with research institutions being a part of that process. We need to be better at communicating our outputs and also ensure that the language is accessible. So some questions for the working groups is, how do we enable connections between identified research questions and practitioners and academic institutions? How to enable direct interactions and exposure between researchers and on-the-ground implementers? How to enjoy joint efforts in research and development and implementation? Can the CFRP ensure a community of practice that spans multiple disciplines? Addressing the necessity for financial support for research, especially in remote conservation areas. And then what enables clear messaging and easy information dissemination to practitioners on the ground? So, some of the actions we want to action as part of this working group is establishing and aligning with the timeframes of researchers and practitioners to implementing projects, establishing a hierarchy of research topics and questions to focus efforts. Is there an opportunity for practitioners and to co-supervise and generating a list for this? Knowing that there are existing platforms like Fynbos Forum, such as GRIN, how do we strengthen these? Making sure there's a so what slide at the end of each of the presentations, that the practitioners in the room can simply understand what that research then means for their work on the ground. Encouraging engagements with identified scientific journals, even enabling and promoting ones that have been started in our neighborhood or in our own communities. enabling easy identification of research happening and where is it happening, and can Cape Farm Mapper enable this? And is there a strategy to better utilize allocated training days for government officials? Because we know many of them battle to come to days like this, and how can we be quite strategic about where they do spend their time? And is there an opportunity for funders like Table Mountain Fund to require their projects to have guest lectures and enable that relationship already? So a huge thank you for being able to present here today. And really, I welcome the opportunity of meeting you today. Hopefully we can make bridges. And again, please scan this QR code for further information on the CFR partnership. And please get in touch if you'd like to be involved in this working group going forward, or to be involved either in person or an online session. And it'd be wonderful to have your input. So just a huge thank you to the NRF Community of Practice in Social Learning and Sustainability Development and the Berg River case study for funding this process and for enabling me to get up to this GRIN conference. And a huge thank you to you all.